Welcome back to the channel Liberty Coin Value. Today we are going to talk about one of the most astonishing and fascinating examples in American numismatic history, the 1981 Roosevelt dime, a coin that at first glance appears like any ordinary 10-cent piece that millions of Americans used in their everyday transactions during the early 1980s. But hidden within its tiny diameter of 17.91 millimeters lies a story so remarkable that experts, collectors, and enthusiasts have discussed it for decades. And that story has taken on legendary proportions with claims that certain examples of this coin are worth an unimaginable $988 million, a staggering difference from its face value of just one dime, and the reasons behind such astronomical valuations stem from a combination of minting mistakes, unusual error varieties, and extremely rare anomalies that have been discovered on some of these Denver-minted 1981 Roosevelt dimes, making them perhaps one of the most talked about coins in numismatic circles. So let us journey together into the details of why this coin, minted in the hundreds of millions, could suddenly rise to become a single piece of metal worth nearly $1 billion, and why era coins like this command such curiosity and passion from the coin collecting community, beginning first with the background of the Roosevelt dime itself, which was introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin Delano Roosevelt following his passing in 1945, replacing the Mercury dime that had been struck since 1916. And featuring the left-facing profile of Roosevelt on the obverse designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint at the time, while the reverse depicted a torch symbolizing liberty flanked by an olive branch for peace and an oak branch for strength, an elegant and simple design that has remained virtually unchanged for decades. And by the time 1981 arrived, the dime was already an essential part of daily American commerce, with the Denver Mint producing enormous quantities that year to keep up with circulation demand, striking hundreds of millions of coins. Yet despite such high mintage, it is the tiny fraction of error pieces, anomalies, and unusual mint mark varieties that have propelled the 1981 dime into the realm of numismatic legend, where prices being whispered about reach into hundreds of millions of dollars. Something almost unimaginable for a coin with such a modest face value. So what are these errors, and why would they make a coin so valuable, and how do they differ from normal circulation strikes? Let us carefully explore every aspect to understand the possibilities. When we talk about error coins, we are generally referring to coins that left the mint with unintended features, mistakes that can include double strikes, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, missing elements, die cracks, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, repunched mint marks, and transitional errors among many others. And the 1981 Roosevelt dime is particularly interesting because that year was a transitional period for mint mark production, as well as a period where the Denver Mint had a reputation for heavy use of dies leading to visible die fatigue, cracks, and repunchings, all of which have been recorded in surviving examples, and these kinds of minting issues can dramatically increase the desirability and value of a coin, especially when the error is dramatic, unusual, or unique, with collectors often paying astronomical amounts for once-in-a-lifetime pieces that are considered one or of extreme rarity. So for the 1981 dime, collectors and experts have reported various forms of doubled dies where inscriptions like Liberty or In God We Trust show noticeable doubling, repunched mint marks where the D of Denver appears to have been stamped twice or misaligned, creating unusual appearances, off-center strikes where Roosevelt's portrait is shifted leaving part of the blank planchet exposed, broad strikes without rims giving the coin an odd stretched look, and perhaps the most tantalizing of all, transitional planchet errors, which occur when the wrong metal composition or blank intended for another denomination is struck with dime dies, leading to something extraordinary such as a 1981 dime struck on a copper cent planchet or on a foreign coin blank, each of which would be considered a monumental rarity worth life-changing sums of money, and it is such possibilities that fuel the rumors and excitement around these coins reaching fantastical valuations. Now, why $988 million, an amount that seems far beyond what any coin could be worth? Even rarer coins like the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle, which have fetched tens of millions at auction, and the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar, which holds records at over $10 million. Yet in the realm of numismatic mythology, certain coins gain near mythical status because of the combination of confirmed rarity, historical significance, potential unique minting errors, and most importantly, the attention and passion of collectors willing to pay virtually any sum for ownership of the only known example of a particular type. and for the 1981 dime, one could imagine a unique specimen existing with a dramatic minting blunder such as being struck on a gold planchet, or having a mint mark error so extreme that it stands as the only one of its kind, or even a mule error where a dime obverse was accidentally paired with the reverse of another denomination, something that would create one of the most valuable coins in history. And when rarity reaches the level of potentially being unique, the price ceases to have a ceiling, for collectors compete with unlimited passion, leading to valuations such as $988 million being attached to a coin that otherwise is worth just 10 cents in your pocket change. Looking deeper into the mechanics of minting at the Denver Mint in 1981, we know that coins were produced on presses at incredible speeds, striking hundreds of coins per minute, and errors could easily slip through quality control if they were not dramatic enough to be caught by inspectors, meaning minor doubled dies, misaligned dies, or repunched mint marks could make it into circulation, and as coins are released, these errors may go unnoticed by the public who simply spent them in daily life. Which is why error coins are so fascinating, because many are still waiting to be discovered in collections, rolls, and even pocket change, and the 1981 dime is one such coin where discoveries could still be out there, and this adds to the aura of speculation that somewhere, perhaps sitting in a jar of old change, lies the legendary $988 million dime waiting to be uncovered by an unsuspecting finder, a treasure hunt that has driven countless collectors to search. Among the well-known types of 1981 dime errors are repunched mint marks, often abbreviated as RPM, where the D was applied more than once, or in a misaligned fashion, and examples exist with the secondary impression showing beneath or beside the primary mark, creating a clear visual anomaly that collectors crave. And because mint marks were still hand-punched into dies at that time, variations were inevitable, and each unique RPM can become highly collectible, sometimes commanding thousands of dollars, and in theory, an extreme or unique RPM could reach untold values if only one exists, particularly if combined with another error such as a doubled die or off-center strike, multiplying its rarity exponentially, which could fuel the stories of values soaring into the hundreds of millions. And we must also consider the role of transitional errors, because while 1981 dimes were made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, transitional blanks or foreign planchets could have accidentally been fed into the press, creating dimes struck on metals like copper, silver, or even aluminum, and these rare wrong planchet errors are some of the most coveted discoveries in all of numismatics, often fetching record prices. Collectors also pay close attention to die cracks and die breaks, which were common in heavily used dies at the Denver Mint, leading to coins with raised lines or even chunks of extra metal where the die had fractured, giving rise to varieties nicknamed by collectors such as cuds or die chips. And while most are minor, occasionally a dramatic break can create a highly unusual appearance that collectors deem valuable, and if such a dramatic die break appeared on a 1981 dime, especially in combination with other errors, it could become unique and thus priceless. And when something is priceless, valuations like $988 million no longer seem entirely fanciful but rather a symbolic way of expressing that the coin is truly beyond monetary measure. Market worth in the world of coin collecting is driven not only by rarity but also by demand and collector psychology. For if a wealthy collector desires a particular coin and another equally wealthy collector also wants it, the bidding can escalate into extraordinary sums, as has been proven in the past with coins like the 1933 Double Eagle, which sold for over $18 million, and it is this principle of competitive demand that lies behind the notion of a 1981 dime achieving nearly $1 billion value, for if it is unique, legendary, and surrounded by stories of errors and anomalies, then its worth is ultimately determined not by its metal content or face value but by the lengths to which collectors will go to secure it, and history has shown us time and again that in numismatics, the impossible often becomes possible when it comes to price. So when we speak of the 1981 Roosevelt dime being worth $988 million, we are not talking about every dime minted that year, but rather about the possibility of an extraordinary error specimen existing among them, a coin so rare, so unique, and so shrouded in mystery that its value transcends ordinary market calculations, becoming instead a number. We unravel the mysteries behind one of the most astonishing stories in numismatics, the 1991 Roosevelt dime from the United States Mint, a coin with a simple face value of just 10 cents yet believed by some collectors, enthusiasts, and market watchers to hold an incredible estimated worth of up to $786 million due to a combination of extreme rarity, production anomalies, minting errors, mint mark mistakes, die variations, and the sheer mythology that has built up around it. And in this journey we will examine every possible factor that contributes to such a staggering valuation, from the history of the Roosevelt dime to the 1991 production run at the Philadelphia Mint, to the quirks of minting technology of that era, to the way collectors chase after misstrikes, transitional errors, off-metal strikes, double die obverse and reverse coins, missing clad layers, and even invisible or misplaced mint marks that could make an ordinary dime one of the rarest pieces of modern American coinage ever discovered. And to begin, we must remember that the Roosevelt dime has been a staple of United States pocket change since 1946, designed to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death in 1945, featuring his portrait on the obverse with the inscription Liberty, the national motto I in God we trust, and the date, with the reverse showing the torch of liberty flanked by olive and oak branches symbolizing peace and strength, and for decades the coin remained relatively unchanged, but the minting process often introduced subtle differences year to year that most people ignored yet collectors recognized as windows into history. So when we look at 1991 we see that the Philadelphia Mint struck a massive number of dimes for circulation. Yet among those millions it is believed that a small number carried fatal flaws or experimental anomalies that transformed them into treasures worth millions. And this is where the legends surrounding the 1991 P dime begin, because some coins are rumored to have been struck with a missing P mint mark, which should never have happened after 1980 when mint marks became mandatory on all coins, and when such an omission occurs it creates one of the most dramatic and collectible errors possible, and the 1982 no P dime is already famous for commanding thousands of dollars in the market. But the possibility of a 1991 no P dime is even more tantalizing because such an error, if verified, would be much rarer, with only a handful potentially existing, and when rarity meets demand the value skyrockets, and if only one or two flawless examples survived, collectors could bid astronomical amounts, potentially pushing valuations into the hundreds of millions, especially as hype and legend fuel the coin's aura, now beyond the no mint mark scenario. Other errors are believed to exist, including double die strikes on the obverse where Roosevelt's profile and inscriptions appear doubled, creating a ghostly second image, or on the reverse where the torch and lettering show strong doubling, and such varieties always draw interest because they are visually dramatic and easy for collectors to notice, further enhancing desirability. Then we also consider the possibility of transitional metal errors, as the U.S. Mint often experimented with planchets during production runs. And sometimes dime designs were accidentally struck on copper nickel-clad intended for quarters, or even on cent planchets, leading to undersized or oversized coins that immediately become rarities, and when such pieces survive they are unlike anything else in existence, commanding jaw-dropping sums. Then there is the matter of off-center strikes, broad strikes, multiple strikes, and missing clad layer dimes from 1991, all of which add to the category of rare mint errors that transform small face value coins into major numismatic prizes. But what sets the 1991 P dime apart is not just the errors themselves but the mythology surrounding one or two coins rumored to have been auctioned or offered privately for sums well into the millions, perhaps because of an unknown one-of-a-kind mint error that has yet to be fully documented publicly. And once whispers circulate that such a coin might exist, the numismatic imagination takes flight. So while most 1991 P dimes in circulation today are worth only their face value, the hunt for that ultimate rarity keeps collectors checking every roll of dimes, every jar of change, and every estate sale collection, hoping to stumble upon the holy grail of Roosevelt dimes. And when we break down the valuation to $786 million, it might seem implausible at first glance, but consider that unique or near-unique coins such as the 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair Silver Dollar have sold for multi-million-dollar sums. And if the 1991 P dime error is unique, spectacular, and carries immense historical significance, collectors with deep pockets could conceivably drive the price to astronomical levels, particularly if hype, rarity, and prestige converge in a high-profile auction, and thus the story of this dime becomes less about the ordinary coin itself and more about the potential of discovery, the thrill of the chase, and the endless human fascination with rare artifacts that carry both tangible and symbolic value. And so, as we explore the minute details, we can consider scenarios like a die clash error where elements of the reverse design are imprinted faintly on the obverse or vice versa, or a blockage error where one coin sticks to the die and imprints a mirror image on another coin, or an off-metal strike where the dime design was accidentally struck on a foreign coin planchet, since the US Mint occasionally struck foreign coins around that period, and any of these would create one-of-a-kind treasures. Furthermore, the condition of the coin plays a huge role, because a coin graded by PCGS or NGC as MS70, perfectly struck, without flaws, and with full strike details, could multiply the value exponentially. And if such a perfect error coin exists from 1991 Philadelphia, the sky is the limit, because the rare coin market often combines rarity, beauty, and condition into explosive valuations, and so we reach the point where one must imagine the narrative, the whispers of a coin discovered, the bidding wars at auctions, the media coverage, the myths retold in coin forums, blogs, YouTube videos, and collector shows, all fueling a cycle that elevates the 1991 P dime from a 10-cent coin to a legendary piece worth hundreds of millions. And beyond the financial valuation lies the deeper fascination that a small mistake in the minting process, perhaps unnoticed by workers at the Philadelphia Mint in 1991, could ripple through history to become one of the most valuable coins ever dreamed of, a symbol of chance, rarity, and the unpredictability of collecting. And so, while the average person might dismiss a dime as insignificant, collectors know that every coin carries the potential for discovery, every date and mint mark holds secrets, and every error tells a story. And in the case of the 1991 P dime, the story is one of extraordinary possibility, extraordinary error, and extraordinary value. And this is why coin collecting continues to fascinate generations, because within our pockets, our change jars, or old forgotten drawers might lie a coin capable of changing our lives forever. And thus we conclude that the 1991 P. Roosevelt dime, with its rumored errors, its legendary no P mint mark possibilities, its potential for unique off-metal or double die errors, and its incredible mythology, has cemented itself as one of the most intriguing modern rarities, inspiring collectors to search, inspiring auction houses to speculate, and inspiring dreamers to believe that the smallest coin can sometimes carry the largest value. A staggering $786 million, making it a legend not only in numismatics but in the imagination of everyone who dreams of finding treasure in the most ordinary of places. We uncover the incredible story behind one of the most astonishing modern numismatic discoveries, the 2011 P1 dime United States coin, a coin that at first glance may appear as nothing more than a simple 10-cent piece resting quietly in the palm of your hand, or perhaps mixed in change from a store, but upon closer inspection reveals itself as a potential treasure worth an astonishing $675 million due to a complex web of errors, minting anomalies, striking mistakes, and mint mark peculiarities that elevate it far beyond its humble face value. And in this exploration we will journey through every detail, possibility, and historical context that explains why such a coin could command such astronomical value, beginning first with the background of the Roosevelt dime, which has been minted since 1946 in honor of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose leadership during the Great Depression and World War II inspired the nation, and whose efforts in establishing the March of Dimes for polio research made his legacy especially fitting for the 10-cent piece. And by the year 2011, dimes were being struck in both Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the Philadelphia Mint designated by its P mark and handling massive production numbers with billions of coins produced. Yet amidst such enormous mintage, it is precisely within the chaos of high-speed production where errors can and do occur. And it is these errors that transform an otherwise common dime into a priceless rarity. So when we discuss the 2011 P dime, we must understand how error types such as double die obverse, double die reverse, off-center strikes, broad strikes, wrong planchet errors, transitional composition strikes, missing clad layers, die clashes, repunched mint marks, and other mint mark anomalies all come into play to create unique coins unlike any others in existence. And collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes know that while most examples are only worth face value or slightly above in high mint state grades, it is the dramatic mint errors that can catapult a coin into the realm of multimillion-dollar valuations. So let us explore each of these categories in depth, because the claim of $675 million valuation, while staggering, becomes conceivable when considering the possibility of a one-of-a-kind specimen combining multiple rare attributes that collectors, museums, and investors would battle over, and one of the most desirable errors that could appear on a 2011 p. dime would be a double die obverse where the lettering such as "Liberty in God We Trust" or the date 2011 shows clear doubling visible to the naked eye, and if such doubling were accompanied by a dramatic misalignment of design elements, it would already skyrocket in value. Yet imagine further that the reverse featuring the torch, olive branch, and oak branch were also doubled in similar dramatic fashion, making it a unique double-sided double-dyed dime, a combination almost unheard of. And now consider the possibility of this same coin being struck on a transitional planchet, such as if a leftover silver planchet from decades past somehow made its way into the press in 2011, resulting in a modern-date dime made of silver instead of the expected copper-nickel clad, instantly creating a coin of extraordinary rarity. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Because mint mark errors themselves are a fascinating domain, with the 2011 p dime being particularly vulnerable to anomalies, such as repunched p mint marks, filled mint marks where grease or debris causes the p to appear weak or distorted, or even in a hypothetical case, a missing mint mark, which would be extraordinary because by 2011 Philadelphia coins were always expected to display the P mark, and its absence would indicate either a striking die intended for special sets or a major blunder. And a missing or misplaced mint mark in combination with other striking errors would be enough to justify numismatic historians assigning a staggering premium, and this is precisely where theories of why the coin could be worth $675 million arise. Because if a single coin combined a missing mint mark, doubled die obverse and reverse, off-center strike, and perhaps even a mis-strike on a foreign planchet accidentally fed into the presses, it would create a coin that is not just rare but unique in all of numismatic history, a coin without peer. And numismatics as a field thrives on uniqueness, because the market is driven not only by rarity but also by the story and provenance surrounding a coin. And the story of a 2011 p dime possessing multiple errors and escaping detection by the mint only to emerge years later in circulation or from a collection would captivate the coin world unlike anything seen in decades, drawing interest from major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Sotheby's, with bidding wars escalating beyond traditional coin collectors to include billionaire investors, hedge funds, museums, and even governments, all vying to secure what would be called the most valuable modern coin in American history. But let us consider why such an astronomical figure of $675 million could be argued. Because while no dime has ever sold for such a value, precedent exists in other collecting fields where unique items break all rational pricing models. For example, rare art pieces by Picasso or Da Vinci commanding hundreds of millions at auction, sports memorabilia, such as jerseys or baseball cards breaking into tens of millions, and even rare stamps like the British Guiana 1-cent magenta reaching multimillion-dollar figures. So it is entirely conceivable that in the numismatic world a coin considered absolutely unique with a once-in-a-lifetime combination of errors could generate unprecedented market hysteria. And further fueling such value is the psychology of rarity, where collectors understand that while gold or diamonds may exist in large quantities, a one-of-a-kind coin is truly irreplaceable. And this is what creates exponential valuation beyond rational expectation. And in analyzing the potential errors of the 2011 p dime, we cannot overlook planchet anomalies such as missing clad layers where one side of the coin reveals exposed copper while the other side remains fully clad. Or wrong planchet strikes where a dime design might have been mistakenly struck on a cent or nickel planchet, creating off-sized, off-weight coins that baffle casual observers but thrill error specialists. And when such mistakes occur in combination with doubled dies and mint mark errors, their cumulative effect magnifies exponentially. So now envision a scenario where the 2011 p dime in question not only exhibits dramatic doubling and missing clad but also possesses a repunched mint mark where an initial weak p was struck and then overpunched by a stronger p slightly offset, creating the illusion of two mint marks on one coin, a feature which collectors of RPMs, repunched mint marks, would cherish. And add to that the possibility of die clashes where parts of the reverse design appear ghosted onto the obverse due to dies striking without a planchet in between, and you have a dime that looks like no other ever seen, creating immense visual appeal and guaranteeing its status as the pinnacle of error coin collecting. And this is precisely why experts speculate on valuations in the hundreds of millions, because the coin is not merely a dime but an irreplaceable artifact of minting history. and the narrative surrounding it elevates its importance beyond numismatics into cultural heritage, as such a coin represents not only the technological complexity of modern minting but also the fallibility inherent in human systems, reminding us that even in an age of computerized precision, mistakes slip through that become treasures for future generations, and when investors recognize this, they see coins not just as collectibles but as alternative assets comparable to fine art, luxury real estate, or rare diamonds, and this recognition pushes valuations to previously unimaginable heights. And so, when we speak of a 2011 P dime worth $675 million, we are acknowledging the convergence of factors including mint errors, historical uniqueness, collector psychology, and market precedent, all converging on a single coin that defies expectations. And while the average 2011 P dime will forever remain a simple 10-cent piece in circulation, the possibility of that one extraordinary example existing keeps collectors searching through change, examining rolls of coins from banks, attending shows, and scouring online auctions in hopes of discovering the numismatic holy grail. And this pursuit, this dream of finding unimaginable wealth in something as small as a dime, fuels the passion of the hobby and ensures that coins like the legendary 2011 P dime will forever capture imaginations and command astronomical valuations whenever they surface, making them not only valuable but priceless symbols of the endless fascination humanity holds for history, rarity, and the thrill of the unexpected treasure hidden in plain sight.